What is up, guys? Today I am here with another video, and this one's going to be a little different. It's called my opinions on polarizing coasters. So there's a lot of polarizing coasters that many people have an opinion on, whether that they be overhated, underrated, or just given the praise that they deserve. So who knows what people might think when they ride these for the first time. So today I'll be giving you my in-depth thoughts about these polarizing coasters. So be prepared for some unpopular opinions, and make sure that when you see this, don't get too triggered. In fact, just write what you think in the comments below. I'm always curious to hear you guys' opinions. So let's get started. So first off, we have Skyrocket 2s, the premier model. So these things are fun rides. They start off with a great launch. You get some good hang time if you're in the front. You get some great hang time in the backwards launch as well if you're in the front. And you get a nice pop of airtime as you go up the third launch to the peak of the ride, and you go through a great heartline roll. It's a very fun, enjoyable, intense ride, although it is a little bit short, which is unfortunate. It's still great. Even though you can find these all throughout, I believe there's 5 or 6 of them so far. They're still great, fun rides and very good clones. However, what is in my opinion not a good clone is the 40 freespin. Now this may be unpopular because I know a lot of people love these things. I've only ridden the one at Six Flags Great Adventure, and I found this to be uncomfortable, just not a very good ride. I did enjoy the lift hill. It was a lot of fun actually. It was sort of an elevator vertical combination. It was sort of weird, but I enjoyed it. I would give this ride another chance, but the one chance that I did give it, I bashed my head pretty good in one of those transitions. And it hurt quite a bit. The restraints also aren't very comfortable if you don't put them down all the way. And it's just not that great of a ride in my opinion. As I said, I would give it another chance if I had the opportunity, though. I think maybe I just got a really bad ride on it. So now I'm targeting a specific park, and that is both Vortex and Nighthawk at Carowinds. I've ridden these coasters just each once, but I found them to be pretty enjoyable and pretty good rides. I found them to be both overhated and not deserving of all the crap that people give them. They're pretty fun. Going into Nighthawk specifically, first as a tip, you want to make sure you go there first when you go to Carowinds. This thing has awful capacity. But I found that other than the final corkscrews, it was a pretty smooth, enjoyable, and fun ride. And while it's not as good as Batwing at Six Flags America, it was still very solid. The final two corkscrews were a bit on the rougher side, which is unfortunate, but nothing that really ruined the ride for me. On the other hand, Vortex I found to be intense, have a solid layout, although it is a little short, and not to be too rough. While it's not perfectly smooth, I still found it to be enjoyable and a pretty solid ride. So definitely hit both these coasters up if you're going to Carowinds. They're not as bad as people say. Oh boy, here we go. Skyrush. Where do I even start with this ride? So this is a coaster that a lot of people really love, and I can see why. It has a fantastic drop, it's got some great intense elements, and it's got some pretty good airtime hills. There's one huge flaw with it though, and that is the awful restraints. They suck, and they suck all the life out of your legs. You feel like you're about to die and have your legs amputated. It hurts so bad, and they come down more and more as the ride goes on. So by the time you get onto the brake run, you feel like your legs are being slowly cut off. But even without that, I found that the layout leaves a lot to be desired. A lot of the turns have a bad rattle to them. They're just not that enjoyable. But I don't hate this ride. It's still in my top 50 because I do think that it has a great drop, and it's got some great intensity to it. And it would have great airtime. If this thing had B&M clamshells, it would certainly be in my top 20, if not my top 10. So really all you need to do is fix the restraint problems, and this thing would be a much better ride. So hopefully Hershey Park will get the memo so that everyone can enjoy Skyrush just as much as those who really like it. Switching to a slightly more positive light, we have Alvingeist. And so this thing, I'm not really sure why some people don't like it. I found it to be very enjoyable, pretty smooth, and to just be a monster invert that is just so much fun. Especially if you're in the back row side closest to the station, you just get whipped down that huge drop, and it is so much fun. The front row, though, is a little bit smoother if you're going up there, but I've only found this ride to have two rough spots, and that is the Cobra rolls a bit on the jerky side, and it has one jerk into the mid-course brake run that isn't the most fun. But if you can look past those two, which I am able to do because I can see how good of a ride it is, it's just a fantastic ride. It's got some great inversions, a good layout, and it's just a very strong, enjoyable ride. Here's another B&M that I find gets hated way too much, Wild Eagle. So I don't understand why some people call this Mild Eagle, because it is so intense. It is smooth for the most part. It does have a very small rattle, but it's intense enough. I actually grayed out multiple times when I was riding this coaster. It was that intense. So I don't get why people find this thing to be forceless. I don't understand it. But it does have some nice inversions. It is a little tiny bit on the short side. I wish it had one or two more inversions, but for the first wing coaster in America, it's very strong. I also love the way it interacts with the terrain. First drop is absolutely fantastic, so it works very well with the terrain. And in my opinion, this is Dollywood's second best coaster behind Lightning Rod. And here is another B&M that is polarizing for some reason, and I don't get this. I found that Nitro is a very fantastic ride. From the great first drop, to the fantastic airtime, to the very intense helix, to the great finale of hills. This thing is a beast from start to finish. My personal favorite hill is actually that first kind of turning airtime hill. That's really fun. I really like that sensation. It's very fun, smooth, and enjoyable. And while it doesn't have the best color scheme, it is a little ugly looking, if I do say so myself. It does make for a fantastic night ride, as it is very secluded, and you could barely see anything out there. It is one of my favorite personal ever rides I've gotten was Nitro at night. And that is the reason that it is actually a top 10 coaster for me. I think it is that fantastic, and it's a great ride. Next up we have a B&M Hyper that I don't like quite as much. This is Behemoth at Canada's Wonderland. And I've heard people say this is one of the better B&M Hypers, and I just don't get that. I mean, yeah, it's one of the larger ones, and yeah, it's a pretty nice long ride, but I found it to be overrated because it's got a pretty noticeable rattle compared to the other ones, and I don't mind a B&M rattle from time to time. I can usually look past it if the ride has some sort of redeeming qualities, such as alvingeist. It had a couple of rough moments, but it was definitely still good enough to look past it. But to me, the airtime was not as good as some of the other coasters out there, and I may just be forgetting this because I didn't have the best ever day at Canada's Wonderland. So I would definitely give it another chance and see if it's got a chance to make it up there. But it's still a top 25 coaster for me, and it's still an enjoyable ride. It's just not as good as some of the other B&M Hypers. Next up, we got Aero Loopers, and these things, a lot of people don't like them, but I found that all the Aero Loopers I've ridden, I haven't hated. I've ridden Loch Ness Monster, Tennessee Tornado, Anaconda, Carolina Cyclone, Dragonfire, and Canopy Corkscrew, and all of which I found to be pretty enjoyable. Yes, Canopy Corkscrew had some decently rough moments, but all the other coasters I found to be pretty fun and pretty on the smooth side. And this may change when I ride Anaconda, hopefully next week, but I don't remember it being too bad. I found them to be intense, enjoyable, and to be pretty solid rides overall. I actually grayed out on Dragonfire when I rode it before, which I was not expecting. Even some of the smaller rides I really liked, like Dragonfire and Carolina Cyclone, both very enjoyable. In my opinion, my favorite of these coasters is Loch Ness Monster, but I know a lot of people like Tennessee Tornado too, and that one's only ranked a couple spots behind it in my rankings, so both are great rides, and I really enjoy Aero Loopers for the most part. I think they are way too hated on. And finally, probably one of the strongest opinions I have on a polarizing coaster, this is Boulder Dash, and this thing, oh my gosh, I just don't understand why it has so many Golden Ticket Awards and why it is so beloved. I found it to have very little airtime, and it was lacking completely with the airtime. And I even got multiple rides on it. Yes, the train wasn't full. I went on a pretty dead day, so maybe that makes a difference. But I rode in the front, and then I rode in sort of the middle. So I didn't really enjoy this coaster that much. Yes, it has a fantastic setting, and I really admire CCI for being able to build this into the woods. I think that is sick. I think it's really cool, and that's the reason why it gets a little higher on my overall list, and that's the reason why I don't hate this ride. I just found it to be disappointing because it was bumpy and didn't have much airtime. So that is my list of controversial opinions. What did you guys think? Make sure you comment below on some of the coasters. I'm sorry if I offended you with some of this. This is just my personal opinion, so feel free to comment your opinion and we can have a good discussion about it. So once again, don't get triggered by this. This is just my opinion. I just wanted to put myself out there with some of these opinions. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you all have a great day. And let me know if you'd like to see part 2 of this. I'm always happy to give more opinions about different polarizing roller coasters. You guys are awesome. See you in the next video.